Alright, class. This should be Monday evening notes, video notes on solving a system of equations algebraically. Remember that a system is two or more equations. Okay? We're going to go ahead and start with our first method, the substitution method. And we're going to look at two linear equations. Remember, linear, y equals mx plus b. Okay, the first equation is in slope-intercept form. Here's your slope. Here's your y-intercept. And the second equation is in standard form. Okay, basic idea. Solve for one variable in one equation and then substitute into the other equation and solve for the remaining variable. So notice in example 1, the first equation is already solved for y. How do I know that? Well, y is isolated on the left side, so this equation is solved for y, which means that negative 3x plus 7 is the same as y. So that means in the second equation, wherever you see a y, you plug in negative 3x plus 7. Okay, so we have 4x plus 2. Okay, here's a y. So I'm going to plug in negative 3x plus 7 equals 16. Now, once we have substituted, we now solve this. Notice our variable is the same, so we can solve this for x. So solving, we have 4x. I'm going to go ahead and do a simplifying. I'm going to distribute the 2, and a lot of people forgot to distribute the 2 to both terms on the test, so don't forget to do that. So we got minus 6x, 2 times 7 is 14, equals 16. Second simplifying technique I'm going to use is combining like terms, so 4x minus 2x. Now I'm going to go ahead and do some solving. So first thing we do is we undo adding and subtracting. So I'm going to undo adding with subtracting. What you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other side. Bring down what you didn't do anything to. We didn't do anything to the negative 2x. 14 minus 14 is 0. 16 minus 14 is 2. Now this is multiplication. Negative 2 times x, so we undo times with division. This number always stays the same. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. So we have 1x. And actually, let me save that answer space for something else. 1x equals negative 1. Now, the solution to a system is if I have two lines, okay, it's the point where they intersect. It's a point. The solution is a point, an ordered pair, a coordinate. We just found the x-coordinate. So we know that the point of intersection, the solution to the system, is going to start off with negative 1. Now we have to find the y-coordinate for our solution. So we're going to plug it back in to our, you could plug it into either one, but it's going to be easier if you plug it into the first one, the one that you solve for. So if I want to find y, I'm going to plug it into the one where it says y equals. So we have negative 3 times negative 1. I'll do it over here on the side. Negative 3. I'm going to substitute my negative 1 in. Plus 7. And then that's going to give us 3 plus 7. And that's going to give us 10. So y equals 10. So we have two lines, okay, and they intersect at negative 1. 10. Solution means for a system, intersection point. Now remember, for a system. Okay? So I'll get you started on example 2, and then I want you to finish it on your own. For this one, it says solve for one variable. So in this case, notice my x is almost by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and solve this one for x. Notice this one was solved for y. I'm going to solve this one for x. Okay? So I'm going to write it over here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 4y. I'm going to cancel it. Why? Because I want to isolate my x. I want to solve for one variable. So what you do to one side, you do to the other side. Bring down what you didn't touch or didn't do anything to. Negative 4y plus 4y is 0. We bring down our equal sign. Now, we cannot combine these. These are not like terms, so we put the, I like to put the y coordinate first, or the variable first, and then the number second. Okay? Now, what we have here is we have solved for one variable. So that means that 4y minus 11 is the same as x. So everywhere I see an x in this equation, I can put in 4y minus 11. So I'm going to plug that in. And I'm going to go ahead and let you calculate that solution, if you can. And I will check it tomorrow. Now for the elimination method. A different method, another way of solving a system. So, basic idea, multiply by some clever numbers so that when you add and actually or subtract the two equations together, one of the variables will be eliminated and you can solve for the other variable. Note, both of the equations must be in standard form. Remember, standard form, ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are your numbers, your constants. Okay? So notice in example 1, ax plus by equals c. Notice a, b, and c are constants. In other words, numbers. ax plus by equals c, whereas b is negative, so when I say plus, okay, it could be plus negative 3. A, b, and c are constants. Now, this one's set up nice for us, because if I add these two equations together, okay, right here, add 5 plus 4, 9. 3 plus negative 3, look at there, eliminated. That's the goal here. We want to eliminate one of the variables. It gets eliminated. Nice. Bring down the equal sign. Negative 1 plus negative 17. Okay. Divide both sides by 9. We're solving for x, so we have x equals negative 2. So we have our first coordinate. Remember, this is the point of intersection. Where do these two lines intersect? That's the solution. Okay? So now that we know what x is, we're going to plug it back into one of these two equations and solve for y. Doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm going to go ahead and choose the top one. Has less negatives. So we have 5 times, now x, remember what's the same as x? Well, negative 2 is the same as x. So I can plug a negative 2 in. Remember, equal means same. Plus 3y equals negative 1. Negative 10 plus 3y equals negative 1. We're solving for y. Add 10 on both sides. Bring down the 3y. 9, divide by 3. So we have y equals 3. And there's your point of intersection. -2, 3. That was nice. Set up nice and pretty. Number 2, not set up nice and pretty. Because if you notice, if you add them, they don't eliminate. If you add them, they don't eliminate. This is where the clever numbers come into play. Okay, it says multiply by some clever numbers. So I'm going to multiply this equation by a number. And I'm going to need to multiply this equation by a number. So that way when I add the two equations together, a variable eliminates. Well, remember how I said you could add or subtract? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the subtraction on this one. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the y again. So I'm going to make these two numbers the same. Because if I make the two numbers the same, I can subtract them and they will, correct, eliminate. By the way, the Vikings lost to the Patriots this weekend. And so that might be on the video quiz that they lost. Okay, let's multiply the top one by 3. That makes that a 6. And then we're going to multiply the bottom one by a 2. That will make that a 6. That's the goal. Now I could have thought some clever numbers to make these the same if I wanted to, but I chose to eliminate my y. So my new equation, so multiplying through, you distribute the 3 onto everything. So we have 15x plus 6y equals -24. Next one, 8x plus 6y equals 4. Now, the thing about subtracting is it can be a little bit harder than adding. But you got to remember that we're subtracting everything. Okay, we're subtracting everything. So 15x minus 8x, 7x. 6y, don't forget, minus 6y eliminates. Bring down the equal sign. -24, this is where you got to be careful if you don't know your rules for adding and subtracting integers. -24 minus 4 is -28. Divide both sides by 7. Your x-coordinate is -4. So sometimes you have to use clever numbers and sometimes they may be ready to go. So let's plug the -4 back in, choose either equation. I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom one because they're all positive. So we got 4 times -4 plus 3y equals 2. Notice I plugged -4 in for x. Got 1 minute left in this video, so I got to hurry. Plus 12y equals 8. Whoa! I hurried. Sometimes hurrying is not the best thing to do, even though I'm going to run out of time here real quick. Multiplying these together. Okay, we're solving for y, so I have to cancel the -16. Bring down the 3y equals 18. Divide by 3. Y equals 6. There's your point of intersection. Now please, 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 please take a moment and read about weird answers. Read about weird answers. In my next video, I will talk about this a little bit more, but please read about that. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.